can see, the three candidates drew numbers. Kevin, number 1, Mark, number 2, and Chris, number 3. So they're, and hopefully they all have enough room. Maybe that'll be the first fight that we have over for a space. We are going to open up questions from the floor. We did get some good, I'm just kind of shuffling these things up. I was kind of afraid we wouldn't get enough response or enough public questions, so we prepared some as we always do, but it looks like we have enough. So we need 8 or 10 to make it till 8 o'clock, and it looks like we have enough to do that. So to start with, I'm going to start with Kevin and allow him 1 minute, and then successively the other two candidates to do exactly the same thing, to introduce themselves, and in a nutshell, and brevity will be applauded tonight, candidates, I assure you. They each have 1 minute to introduce themselves to you. So if you would, Kevin, you're first.
I am Kevin Cruz. I'm 49 years old. I've been married to the same woman for 27 years. I've got 3 grown kids, 3 grandkids. My hobbies include hunting, fishing, riding horses. My favorite sport, contrary to my daughter playing fast pitch softball her whole high school career, is the rodeo. In a nutshell, that's who I am.
I am Mark Collins. I'm a captain in the Washington County Sheriff's Office. I'm a 25-year law enforcement veteran of this county, as well as almost the last 20 years spent at your Sheriff's Office. Currently, I lead the Criminal Investigations Division, the evidence and crime scene sections of the Sheriff's Office, and in that area we take care of all the major case crimes that occur throughout the county, to include burglary, theft, sex crimes, fraud, violent crimes, domestic violence, and even murder and drug crimes. I also take care of and lead the civil process, as well as records division and the victim's advocate, the administrative services within the Sheriff's Office. I want to thank the Washington County Republican Committee just for allowing us to come out tonight and be able to express our views and opinions for the office in which we seek. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Chris Ellis. I am a retired trooper from the Florida Highway Patrol with 30.5 years. This Chipley, Washington County, is my hometown. I've lived all over the state of Florida. When I originally started with the Florida Highway Patrol, I was in Miami. From there, I transferred up to Daytona Beach, stayed there 10 years, and finally back in 1995, I was able to transfer back home. My entire career has basically been dedicated to drug interdiction and criminal apprehension. Yeah, when most people think of the Florida Highway Patrol, they think of guys that work traffic crashes and write tickets. Well, that has not been the case with me. I've worked with many different agencies, FDLE, Secret Service, all the local agencies that I was stationed locally with, and to ensure that we were making good cases and putting a lot of bad people in jail. One of the things that I'd like to emphasize is that right now I'm not looking for a title. I'm just looking for an opportunity. The sheriff's position is a position that allows you to do so much more to help the community. And that's what I'm looking for, is that opportunity to reach out and do things in our community, whether it's helping in their schools with the drug problem, or reaching out and building up programs that will make our community a better place to live. Thank you.
And thank you all for your candidates. I want to point out that we'd like to say a very large thank you to WMVB News 13 in Panama City. A good friend of mine, Terry Cole, general manager down there, gave him a call yesterday and said, "Are you aware?" And he said, "No, but I am now." And so thank you all for covering. So often people, even in a small community such as the Chipley area, certainly Washington County being a very large area, they say, "Well, I didn't know that was going on," or "I didn't know that that was something that I should have taken advantage of." So we want to thank them very much for being here. The first question, and the way that it will work, is that Kevin, pulling number 1 position, will answer first, and then the other 2 candidates will answer. They will each have 2 minutes. Our timekeeper is Todd Abbott, County Commissioner, and he will, if he remembers it, will tell you when you have 10 seconds left. That hopefully to give you and when I let him do it because I never remember, so if he remembers a few times, he's ahead of me. And so give you that heads up, and then he'll let you know when your time is up. We appreciate no response from the crowd. The reason we have the answer to the questions written down and presented up here is that we didn't want any personal attacks. Not that anybody in this room would do any of that kind of thing, but we like to keep it as civil and as educational as possible. First question, do you feel you have a relationship with the minorities of Washington County? If yes, why?
I feel I got a relationship with everybody in this county. I feel like I've proved that the last 14 years. 24 total years of law enforcement experience. I don't know that I really understand that question. You know, a relationship with the minority versus a relationship with the majority. I don't know that I serve everybody. You know, what I do for a living, you know, and my background, if you know me any at all and have watched this agency, my background is drugs and the drug work. And it don't have any boundaries. It don't look at race at all. It's whites, blacks, and pink and purples. We've proved that, you know. So yeah, I feel I've got a good relationship with the minorities based on the calls that I get in the middle of the night from certain groups. But again, you know, I'm here to serve everybody. I feel like I got a relationship after being chief of police for 14 years. I feel like I've established a relationship with any group in the city of Chipley and in the county. I get calls from other parts of the county, not just the city of Chipley. Want me and my team to go work in other parts of the county, and unfortunately, a lot of times that is from the minority groups. It's impoverished neighborhoods, and when you have those situations, you unfortunately have high crime areas, and those areas are that's where we go, you know. So I guess the answer to your question and why, my answer is yeah, I believe I do. Yeah, I believe I've got a good relationship with the minority groups because I believe I'm put here to serve everybody.
Time.
Same question, Mark.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of my friends are from different ethnic groups, and absolutely, you know, I've always lived by the philosophy of treat people the way you want to be treated. At the end of the day, is that regardless of how, you know, how I may see things, or how I've got to lay my head on the pillow at night, and I've got to be able to come to grips with my own beliefs and my own understandings. You know, it's deeper than just being a law enforcement issue to me. It's a biblical issue to me. As I said, it just boils down to treating people the way you want to be treated, and I certainly have a good working relationship. Got a lot of people that I work with in the law enforcement field from all points of. That was one of the benefits of me being able to attend the FBI National Academy. I was able to attend with ethnic groups from 23 different countries, even abroad from the U.S. And I'll tell you that we work well together, and some of those are even my best friends out today. So yes.
If you are a true believer of Christ, then you'll understand that black, white, yellow, red, we are brothers and sisters in Christ. What I've done through the years, though, is I've also coached at the local level, high school level, and I've coached black and white, and have no objection to coaching either one of them. I've stood with them and through my job trying to do what is best for them. Some of the guys that I've worked with over the years with the Florida Highway Patrol, some of my closest friends have been minorities. Some of the upper management people that I have worked for have been upper management in the minority sector. So, you know, just like I said before, we are all children of God, and regardless of your color, you know, that's how I feel.
Amen.
Thank you, all three of you. Now that they've all got a chance to speak, how is the sound? Can you hear them okay? Yes. Goldie? Yeah, not too much bass? Yeah. Treble? Yeah. Okay. By the way, the questions that are being asked are going to be here at the end of the session, or at any point somebody can come up here and verify that these were indeed asked by the audience. Second question is, and this one will be starting with Mark. As number 2, what is the biggest issue facing the WCSO, Washington County Sheriff's Office?
Wow, Paul, that's a good question. I'll tell you, I can't think of one single issue that's facing the WCSO. There's so many. When you take a look at what's happening to law enforcement in general, in the national level all the way down to the local level, there's so many different issues that law enforcement's dealing with. Safety's a big issue to law enforcement at this point in time. Keeping our officers safe as they go out on the street and they enforce the laws of the land. Another issue is the changing, the ever-evolving drug issues in the county. We're always dealing with new drugs, and not just drugs alone. It's the gangs that we see. We have evidence of them popping up in the county. We've got technology. Technology's there, and we got scams and ways to defraud people. There's so many issues, and as sheriff, I don't think that I can afford to be singular focused on one issue. At the end of the day, it's about being proactive and not reactive to situations.
Right now, I would venture to say that it hasn't actually hit Washington County yet, but it's coming, and that is the heroin trade. Right now, Atlanta is a hub for the southern United States, and there's a lot of drugs being brought into the Atlanta area. One of those is heroin. Heroin is going to come back, and it's going to come back strong. And what that's going to do, it's going to, actually at this point, it's cheaper to buy than prescription drugs. So if we don't get a hold of that and have a team in place and ready for when it hits Washington County, what you're going to do is you're going to find a lot of young people with needles stuck in their arms that have died right there on the spot. Because what is happening, there's a drug, fentanyl, and also W18 that is being, it's a synthetic drugs that are being brought in to the United States and being, what they're using it for is a cutting agent for heroin. Kids don't realize how strong that is. That's actually 100 times, if you want to think of it, it's 100 times stronger than heroin, morphine. So when they inject that into their arm, they don't even have time to pull the needle out of their arm before they're dead on the spot. They're seeing there's a Tri-County area just north of Atlanta where they've done a huge study on it. And they just made a triangle out of it, and they've been able to go and see the amount of young people, and they don't necessarily have to be young people, it's just people that have diverted from prescription drugs into heroin, and it's killing them, and they don't know how to deal with it as of yet. The drug trade will always be an issue, and it's going to be an issue here in Washington County if we're not prepared to take care of that. Here in Washington County,
10 seconds.
we don't have, at this time, we do not have the drug awareness and the ability to fight off the influx of heroin.
Time.
Can you repeat the question before my time starts?
Certainly can. What's the biggest issue facing the WCSO?
I can tell you what it is. It's the same issue facing every other law enforcement agency in this country. It's drugs, and behind that is stealing and violent crime. Chris is exactly right. He's exactly right. I don't know if y'all remember, but just a few months ago, we're in May, just a very few months ago, there was 2 or 3 overdose deaths in Walton County, around the Freeport area. We work with them too. I'm proud to tell you that there's 2 men that works at the Chipley Police Department. They called me, and I sent 2 people to the Walton County Sheriff's Department in an undercover capacity. Now, how that works is people always ask me, how do we do all the dope deals that we do in Chipley? Don't everybody know who you are? Sure, they know who we are, but that's what we do. We trade out labor. That's what we do. So just a few months ago, I had 2 people working in Walton. Now I've already had people from Walton County working in Chipley and the surrounding areas. That's how this business works. And he's exactly right. The question was, what is the biggest issue? And I'm telling you, that is the issue. It's drugs. Heroin is here. I don't know if Chris knew about the Walton County cases, but he's exactly right. Heroin is here. It's just a matter of time before you see it popping up in Washington County. But again, you know, that's my background. You gotta have, and there's something else he hit the nail on the head. That I'll care just a little bit for. You gotta have boots on the ground. That's what you got. You gotta have, that's a working man's job, working dope. You can take a burglary investigator, he can sit behind his desk in his office, and he's gonna have a caseload come to him whether he wants it or not. A drug investigator, it don't work that way. He's got to be out there working on Friday nights and Saturday nights and Sunday nights at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning, meeting them head on. And that's what I started a long time ago. I realized a long time ago, as a young man, early in my career,
10 seconds.
that if all the crimes, the majority of the crimes that we work revolved around drugs, well then why not focus on the drug problem? And that's what we have done, is focused on the drug problem. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chris Ellis will start this next round of questions. What qualifications set you apart from the other candidates?
There are several things that you could go back and look at. I've been fortunate enough with the Florida Highway Patrol to have worked with many different agencies. I touched on that earlier. I have DEA, FDLE. I've worked, I was actually certified as a customs agent when I was down at Daytona Beach working with U.S. Customs. I have spent so much time dealing with drug interdiction and criminal apprehension in areas that aren't basically the same as what you would see in Washington County. There are, you know, when you try and say that when I'm, you know, they've done their things in law enforcement that they may be experts at. I've done things that I may be experts at. But in the end of the whole process is where can you draw from to assist you in Washington County? I've got contacts all over the state of Florida that I could bring and to help us in Washington County. One of the things that I can say that I have not done is I have not been put in a supervisory position because I chose not to move back down to South Florida. But I know what I will do if I'm elected sheriff. I will surround myself with equally incompetent people to help me run that department.
10 seconds.
If you are the sheriff, you are the liaison between the sheriff's department and the people in the community. I will stay in the community and make sure that I reach out and touch those in the community and hear their needs and be willing to work with them. Thank you.
My record, 14 years of doing this. You're looking at the first drug task force member of this county back in the 1990s, established under Sheriff Fred Peel. You're looking at the first methamphetamine lab certified. I was the first and the only for a few years in this county. I've worked with DEA. DEA flew me to Quantico, Virginia, 2 different occasions to be trained under them. Countless others, so many trainings and so many schools all over the southeastern United States that I've been to get me to where I'm at. But you know what? I'll be honest with you, they're all good. I got some of the best training all over the southeastern United States. But honestly, what we do is not rocket science, people. I can tell you. My daddy raised me to work hard, and that stuck with me. A good, strong work ethic, and a lot of common sense goes a long way in what we do. Don't be fooled. What we do is not rocket science. And Chris spoke about the resources. I got resources all over the southeastern United States. And that's not bragging, that's from doing the job, just like Chris. That's from doing the job and working with these people all these years. But the resources are there. But what separates me, look at my record. Look at what I've done. And I want to carry what I've done. I want to carry it countywide. That's what I want to do. And I'm the man to do it because of what I told you. Because of my work ethic and getting out and doing the right thing, getting out of the car and talking with people. That goes a long way in what we do as cops. I can tell you that. Thank you.
Experience. 20 years I've sat at that sheriff's office, and I can tell you I've watched the incomings and the outgoings, 2 administrations. I've watched what happens at that sheriff's office. I've watched the good things, the good programs we've had, and I've watched the programs that's failed. I've been through from the bottom level all the way up to where I am now in the rank structure. I've worked alongside of the guys and the men and women that work there. I know the struggles that they deal with. I know the problems that they have. I know what makes them tick. I know what makes them work. I know the situations that they deal with at their home lives. I know that sheriff's office. It's experience. I can tell you what sets me apart. It's knowing that sheriff's office. It's knowing school resource. It's knowing that jail. It's knowing that dispatch center. It's knowing what happens inside the sheriff's office. That's what sets me apart. When the sheriff goes away, and he's away, this business don't stop running. The sheriff's office don't stop running. I have sat in his seat while he's gone. I've taken the helm. I know what it's like to run that sheriff's office. It's a $4.2 million budget. That's what sets me apart. Thank you.
All right, next question, and this one will be started by Kevin, since the last question was first answered by Chris. What will you do with budgetary, and I'm reading this verbatim, what will you do with budgetary concerns facing the sheriff's office? What will you do with budgetary concerns facing the sheriff's office?
Oh, about 5, 6, 7 years ago, I lost a position, and then I lost another position. And the people that I worked for, the community that I served, the board that I served for, I went before them. And this is what I told them when I was hit with that. I'm like, look here, and this is almost verbatim. I said, you guys have gotten used to a level of service that we've been able to deliver to you based on the manpower that you've given me. That's what I told them one night in a meeting. I said, but let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to keep doing everything just like we've been doing. And honestly, what I told him, I said, now, I don't know, I can't guarantee you exactly how long we'll be able to keep this pace up, but we're going to do more, with less, is what I told him. We didn't cry about it, we didn't complain about it, I fought for it, and it didn't work, but that was my response to the people in this community and the board that I served back then. And that'll be my response now. It's all tough times. It's tough times on everybody. You got to trim fat where fat can be trimmed, just like I did back then. Fortunately, I've gotten one of those positions back. But you got to trim fat, and you got to do more with less. We have to do that at the house. When we run our own checkbook, you know, each one of us sitting in this room has to do that. Let me tell you something. My job ain't no different than the CEO of a big major company. If I'm not cutting the mustard, or they're not cutting the mustard, you can better well believe they're going to be put on the road. And my job is no different than the CEO of a company. So if that's my response to that, you got to look at it, you got to assess it, and you got to bow up is what you got to do. And you got to do the job with less to do it with. Is that it? Thank y'all.
Budget constraints. More for less. That's exactly what we've become professionals at, people. The past 5 or 6 years, we've had $500,000 cut from the sheriff's office budget. We know how to do more for less. That's what we've been doing. We had over 20 officers about 5 years ago. Now we're down to 16 and a half. That's 16 full-time and a part-time officer taking care of 600 square miles. That's what we're accustomed to, is getting out there and doing a lot more for a lot less. But I'll tell you also is that when you continue to cut, you'll continue to cut, and then something's going to be just like it is in your house. There will become a time when you're going to have to do away with that pair of shoes, or you're going to have to do with whatever extras you've got. So if you continue to cut, I can tell you, there will be consequences down the line somewhere. We can't cut anymore. We are at the bare bones where we are right now. We are at the bottom, and we have cut and cut and cut. And I had this conversation with one of the county commissioners here that sat in here just recently. And I'll tell you that I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm not looking for cuts. I'm not looking for another cut. I'm looking to go forward, to move this county forward. That's where we need to be. Forward direction, not looking behind.
Just talking to some of the deputies that currently work for the Washington County Sheriff's Department, and those that have worked for the department in the past, the county now, the Washington County Sheriff's Department, is a revolving door. We are doing a really good job in Washington County of training our deputies for about 2 years, and then they're going out, and I can't blame them, they're going out and finding better paying jobs. Now there are things that we could do. You know, when I was working drug interdiction on the interstate out here on I-10, we did make currency seizures out there on the interstate, and we put a lot of people in jail, bad people in jail, and we seized their currency. Now that currency can be used for the department eventually, and it can't be used for salaries, but it can be used for equipment. So that was one of the things I would do eventually. I would actually train a team that would be on the interstate to work interdiction and to work on seizing currency on the interstate to help provide things that we need from the Sheriff's Department. And there are grant monies out there. If you can get the proper grant money, get some money to write the grants for you, and then use that grant money to help make the department a better department. Thank you.
Thank you. And forgive me, some of these are not readable, and some are in the new code, the cursive style. Okay, and I believe Mark, we'll start on this one. If offered, would you accept surplus or donated equipment from other law enforcement or government agencies? If offered, would you accept surplus or donated equipment from other law enforcement or government agencies?
Absolutely, that's a no-brainer. We currently we've got some vehicles we've got that's donated from other agencies, and you know, I mean, let's be realistic. You don't want a vehicle that's got 200,000 miles on it that you're going to have to put $10,000 into it to turn around and make it a drivable vehicle. So yeah, there's plenty of surplus equipment out there that we use and that we get for the sheriff's office. We're constantly looking. We're online. The federal government is constantly they're surplusing out equipment, and we're seeing things that's available. And you know, the sad thing is that it's very competitive. The field of surplus equipment is very competitive with other agencies, and usually it is the early bird gets the worm. So you know, we constantly are looking. We're always, you know, there's so many different things, from night vision to cameras, to, you know, to vehicles, to light bars. There's so many different things that we've been able to acquire through the years. But yes, to answer your question, absolutely.
I currently have, I believe it's 5 former FHP troopers that work South Florida that are Sheriff's Department employees, and actually sheriffs of those counties. And what I'll do is obviously, since I'm former FHP, they would be more willing to work with me, I think, than anyone else, to ensure that we did get some decent quality vehicles. And then once again, I wouldn't hesitate to accept anything from the federal government to ensure that our people here in Washington County are safe, and especially our deputies. You know, when a deputy has to make an entrance into a house that is possibly full of drugs or whatever, I want to make sure we have the best equipment, because the ultimate goal is for that deputy to go home to his family. So if that means begging and pleading and asking the federal government to give us that equipment, well then I wouldn't hesitate to do so.
I'm gonna go back on that last question, right quick, like, just a few years ago, not many years ago, just a few years ago, you ever going down the interstate, you ever been going down the interstate and you see an 18-wheeler and he's got a tow of another tractor, 18-wheeler on the back, and he's hauling him? We participated with another agency and we stopped that guy. He was a Mexican going back to Mexico, and we stopped him here. And one of those axles on that tractor that was towed, we took $800,000 out of that axle. The Chipley Police Department received a big part of that because we was part of that case. There was another, just to the top of my, and I know I got to get to this other question, but you know, I didn't follow up a while ago on budget constraints, and that's part of it. How do I do it now? Another case we did $250,000, $300,000. Just today, we carried 3 vehicles to sell at public auction and we seized from drug dealers. One of those was from Alabama, brought it down here. So that's over just in 2 cases, just 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. That's 2 cases that we seized over $1 million off of that interstate. But we work interdiction too. But anyway, that's big for departments the size of Chipley Police Department and the Washington County Sheriff's Department, and pretty much everybody up here in the Panhandle. Those kind of seizures mean the world. The answer to this question about the surplus property, the desk that was in my office came from that warehouse in Tallahassee where all the school, I can't think of the name of it, but all the school, they put them over there, surplus. So that's where my desk came from up to 2 years ago. It was one of those surplus desks. I didn't buy any desk. And then the desk that I have now in my office just came from City Hall. Somebody handed that one down and I got that. So yeah. And the only thing I'll disagree with Chris on is the Highway Patrol. He said we're favoring because it's a Highway Patrol. I don't think so. We used to use those cars too. I don't think Chris is a good guy, but he ain't that good. I'm a good guy too, so we use those cars too. And they are, he's right. They're good to work with agencies, the sheriff's departments and the police departments. They are good to work with us on getting that equipment, especially those cars. Now we hadn't done it in a while, but when I come here, that's everything we had was the old FHP cars. So yeah, we do that. I mean, we have to do that. Is we have to use the surplus equipment. And like I said, I just got rid of. There's no telling how that desk was in my office that came from over there, and I had it up to 2 years ago. So yeah, the answer to that question is absolutely. We do that now.
Thank you. And just for clarification, you can use your 2 minutes any way you want. So if you want to revisit another question and you still have time left, you can certainly talk about anything you want during your 2 minutes for every question. So
thank you very much.
No, you're very welcome. This is, bear with me, this is written in cursive and I can read it, but it's very small. The question is, for many years there have been questions about visibility in outlying areas of the county. Given that budgets are always tight, what will you do to increase visibility in Caryville, Ebro, Vernon, and Wausau? I forget who goes first.
It may be me.
Well, if Kevin answered last on that one, then that means that you started, so yeah.
Let me say this. I gave a shout out to our public information or public service officers the other day, in that these guys do a really good job of being visible, and if you realize it, if you're not paying attention, you don't even realize that they're not true deputies. So they are out and about, and they are doing a great job and they're not even getting paid. They are going around and visiting folks. They are checking on empty houses. But I think one of the biggest things we've got to do is ensure that we have adequate deputies and we have adequate deputies in zones and they stay in those zones. One of the major complaints that I hear from folks is that they'll be gathered up at either Casey's or McDonald's, several cars, and they automatically assume that there's no coverage in the south end of the county. If you ever were to take a drive from Chipley, and let's say you were responding to a call in Ebro, my goodness, you think about how much could take place in that amount of time. So we've got to ensure that our deputies and law enforcement officials stay in the areas where they need to stay. And I think it's important that also that our dispatchers are aware that any one time you may have 2 or 3 troopers riding around throughout Washington County, and they're all certified with AR-15s. 2 of them have canines. So if there was an issue that needed to be addressed immediately, then I would say dispatcher, you call your deputy first, and then second in line, you're calling your, if it's close enough to the city, you're calling Kevin. And if it's further out, you're calling the Florida Highway Patrolman and saying, hey guys, we need help, please respond. And I know they wouldn't hesitate to respond and help out.
Okay.
I get mixed up on this here, on the numbers situation. Accountability. I'm hearing the same thing. It's accountability. Like an old boss told me years ago, don't expect what you don't inspect. And that's true. I don't care who the sheriff is. You can't have guys working at Carroll and Ebro and other parts of the county, and they get 10:30 or 11, and they decide it's time to eat lunch, and they come to Chipley. Now, if he's supposed to be working in Ebro, now I'm telling you, you can drive 55 to 65 miles per hour from Chipley to Ebro, and it's a 30-minute drive. Okay? You cannot justify, I don't care who it is, me or one of you, sitting out there. If you run this business, you can't justify if that man is supposed to be in that area and is that far away, you can't justify him coming to Chipley to eat his lunch. So you just lost that coverage now for a minimum of 2 hours. That's what you've lost that coverage for. It gets back to accountability, putting them in the zones, keeping them in the zones, and I'll tell you, this is how I am. We spent a lot of money several years ago to get these cars like you see on TV, where you see the cop shows and those guys are running tags in these patrol cars. They're doing their own on a laptop computer. We have that. Pretty much, I guess everybody's got it. Every county deputy, every one of my guys has got it. Well, what that enabled those guys to do is not only run license plates, driver's license, so on and so forth from their car. I mean, they still utilize the dispatch communication center, but what that enabled that officer to do is called officer redeployment. That's what it's called, officer redeployment. What that means is he don't come to the office to do his report. And my people will tell you now, I'm a stickler on that. We've got that system. You sit in that car and do your report. Now you got to come sometimes. I mean, you're gonna have to interview people, so on and so forth like that. You got to come to the office. But you sit on the side of the road to do that report. After we spent the money we spent to have those systems and those patrol cars that we got, it don't make good sense for 3 or 4 of them to come down to the call them to come down there to the office and sit down there at the office doing their report. And furthermore, the #1 crime deterrent is seeing that marked unit. So it just makes sense for them to be in the field doing a report from the field, because those reports, they transmit right back to a server at our office. Thank you.
You know, it's deeper than the issues as far as eating together and all. This has been exactly the platform that I have preached as we went out into the communities. You know, when you're in Rome, you do as the Romans do, and I work for a sheriff, and we're going to do what the sheriff says do. I'll tell you this, is that this is exactly what I've been telling the people as I've went out and talked. We are going to get back to community policing. We are losing our communities. We're losing them at the national level. We're losing them at the local level. We're losing our communities all the way around. Our law enforcement officers do not need to be on 77, 79, 90, and 910. We need to be in the areas of where crime occurs. As you go out and you hear things that says that, you know, we haven't seen an officer down here in months. What did you call? No, I didn't call. Well, how can we fix a problem if you have not called to tell us about it? So it's hard to fix that problem if we don't know about it. But I will tell you this, is that that is exactly where we're headed. We are going back to community policing. We're going back to being in our schools, being in our businesses, being in our churches, educating. We're going back. That's the direction we're headed, people. That is exactly, if you talk to anybody that has talked to me, they'll tell you that has been the exact words I've given.
Thank you.